Right. Ever feel like you're at the bottom of like a massive mountain, looking up at your goals?
Kind of daunting, right? Well, what if instead of staring at that summit, we just focused on finding the trail? Getting the right gear, taking that first step.
Yeah.
That's the power of small wins. That's what we're diving deep into today. We've got a bunch of research, real-world examples that show those little wins aren't just, a nice feeling. They're actually the key to climbing any mountain, whatever you've got your sights set on.
It's crazy. We get so focused on how huge the goal is, we miss the magic that's in those tiny steps. Each one, it's like almost nothing on its own.
Right.
But over time, they add up to something huge.
It's true. Even for me, when I finally tackle a task I've been putting off, could be anything, even just sorting papers. It's like I get this burst of energy to do the next key thing. Like each small win saying, hey, you got this.
Exactly. That's the sound of what we call self-efficacy, believing you can actually make things happen.
Right.
Every win's like a deposit in your confidence bank. Right?
Yeah.
You build it up, then you're ready for bigger challenges.
That makes a lot of sense. But is there science behind this feeling? Or is it just we're happy to check things off a list?
Oh, no, there's real science. Think about dopamine, that neurotransmitter, pleasure and reward. Every small win, your brain's like, whoa, this is good. Do more.
So we're chasing a dopamine high with these small wins. I'm in. But seriously, how does this translate to actually achieving those big goals we set?
Okay, imagine instead of waiting for one huge dopamine hit at the top of the mountain, you get doses along the way, keeping you going. This is where Teresa Amabiel's work comes in.
Oh, the Harvard researcher. She's the one who says consistent progress is better than the occasional big win, right?
Spot on. She found that even tiny steps, if they're regular, do more for how we feel about our work, that sense of achievement, than those big breakthroughs that happen rarely. Interesting. So it's less about sprinting to the end, more like a good hike, enjoying the view as you go. Which makes me think of really daunting goals, writing a novel or training for a marathon. Do small wins help with those?
Absolutely. It's like instead of Mount Everest, you break it down into base camps. Not writing a whole book, just a page a day. Not running 26 miles, just a 10-minute jog. It makes it doable.
You go from feeling stuck to feeling like, okay, I can make progress.
Exactly. That shift is what stops procrastination, gets you started.
I'm seeing goal setting in a whole new way now. So we know small wins build momentum, they give us confidence, but how do they become lasting changes? How do small steps actually become habits?
That's where the real magic is. Let's take a healthy lifestyle, for example.
Ooh, that's a mountain I'm always trying to climb.
Right. So instead of changing everything at once, which just sets you up to fail, what if it's one small thing? An extra glass of water each day, a 5-minute walk at lunch. Do those consistently, and they build into habits.
So you're rewiring your brain through repeating things, making them automatic. I never thought of it that way. Like building a new path in your brain, one little step at a time.
It's amazing, right? How our brains they're built for this habit stuff. Every time you repeat something, that path gets stronger, easier to do again next time. Like making a groove in a record. The more you play it, the deeper it gets. The needle follows it easier.
Yeah, I like that. Makes habits less, mysterious. But what about when we mess up? Fall off track. It's easy to get discouraged, feel like we've totally failed. How do small wins help with that?
That's where the self-efficacy comes in, that belief we talked about. If you've got a bunch of small wins behind you, that's confidence you can use when things get tough. You're more likely to see setbacks as just bumps, not like a dead end.
So instead of quitting, it's more like, okay, that didn't work, but what's one thing I can do now to get back on track?
Exactly. You're not stuck on the problem. You're looking for the solution. And even a small win helps you feel like you're making progress, and that keeps you motivated.
Like having a little voice saying, you got this, you did it before, you can do it again.
You got it. It's about knowing setbacks happen, they're normal. The important thing is not letting them completely stop you.
This is making me think, this applies to more than just big goals, right?
Right.
We talked about books, getting healthy, but what about stuff like relationships? We're just growing as a person.
Oh yeah, it works everywhere. Small wins are how you make progress in anything. Say you want to be a better listener. Don't try to change overnight. Just focus on one interaction a day. Put your phone down when someone's talking. Ask a question to show you're really listening.
It's true. Those little things can mean a lot. But we don't always realize how important they are. Like planting tiny seeds, they might not seem like much, but if you keep taking care of them, they can grow into something amazing.
And the cool thing is, those small wins in your relationships, they spread. When you're being your best, it helps other people be their best too. It's like we're all climbing our own mountains, but when we help each other out, it makes things better for everyone.
I love that we're all connected on this journey. Makes it less scary knowing you're not alone. Okay, so we've talked about momentum, the science, how habits form, even how these things can affect other people. But the big question is, where do we start? How do we actually use this stuff in our own lives?
The best part is, you can start anywhere. Figure out what matters to you, then break it down into the smaller steps. Don't look at the whole mountain, just that very next step you can take.
So instead of freaking out about how big the goal is, it's more like, what's one tiny thing I can do today to get a little bit closer?
That's it. You don't need to know everything or have a perfect plan. Just do something, even if it seems small, and things will become clearer as you go.
Like taking the first step on a path, knowing it'll lead you somewhere. That's encouraging, especially for people who, overthink everything and never get started.
Happens all the time. But the solution is to take action. Once you start doing things, you learn. You adjust as you go. It's like building the bridge while you're walking across it.
Wow, that's a good one. It means we don't need to have everything figured out before we start. Sometimes you just got to start walking to find your way.
Exactly. And who knows, you might find something amazing along the way that you would have missed if you stayed stuck at the beginning.
This has been eye-opening, really. I'm looking at my own goals differently now. It's less about conquering something, more about making progress, enjoying the process, celebrating the little wins.
That's the way to do it. And remember, those small wins, they're not just steps to something bigger. They matter on their own. They're what make life good.
Yeah, that's so true. They do matter. It's like we're so focused on the NXT thing, the bigger thing, we forget to just enjoy how far we've come already.
Right. Like head down, looking at the map, and you miss the scenery you're walking through.
Exactly. And celebrating those small wins, that's got to be important to keep going, right?
It's huge GE. Like you're giving yourself a pat on the back saying, good job, keep it up. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Just write about it, tell a friend, or even just take a minute to feel good about it.
I've actually started doing little things to celebrate, like finish a tough project at work, fancy coffee time, or a nice long walk outside. Just little things to, take care of myself. It really helps with the mood and makes me want to do more.
I love that. Those little rituals, they work because your brain's like, oh, if I do this, then I get that. So it makes you want to do the thing again.
So we're kind of training ourselves to crave that feeling of accomplishment.
Exactly.
And it makes me think back to that mountain thing. It's not just about reaching the top, right?
Nope.
It's the view along the way. It's the tough parts you get through. It's those moments you're like, wow, I'm stronger than I thought.
That's it. And remember, it's not always a straight line to the top. There's going to be twists, turns, might even feel like you're going backwards sometimes.
But that's all part of it, right? As long as we keep taking those steps, keep celebrating, keep believing we can get there, eventually we will.
You will. And you know what? You might find the journey itself is even better than reaching the end. All that growth, you get tougher, you learn about yourself. That's the good stuff.
This has been awesome. Seriously changed how I think about goals and how to be happy about what I'm doing.
That's what we like to hear. And remember, everyone can do this small wins thing. It's not about big changes. It's the little stuff you do consistently that makes a big difference over time.
So, to everyone listening, think about that mountain we talked about. What's the first small step you can take to start climbing? Let us know. We want to hear about your wins, no matter how big or small. Until next time, keep going, keep celebrating, and remember, small wins, big impact.